Now, UK property, a global magnet for investment. Global investors keep choosing the UK property as a priority. Why is that? Even though this is perceived high costs such as tax, problems with tenants and that sort of stuff. This week we're looking at the Times article where a Singaporean investor chose UK property over a home country despite Singapore's booming economy. Why? Because the UK market offers stability, strong returns and low barriers to entry. With global money pouring in, is this a problem or proof that UK property is still one of the best asset classes in the world? Now this week, we've just been up in Hong Kong for the Hong Kong Tens. Our team, which is the Pac Barbars, got through to the final and unfortunately lost for the second year running in the final. But the boys did really well, put really good effort into it. A lot of the clients who went along had a great time, learned a lot more about what we do as a company and what great people the Pac Barbars are. So thank you very much for going along. Investors from Singapore, Hong Kong, China, the Middle East have long viewed the UK as a prime market for property investment, but now controls on rent increases in many countries are pushing more investors to focus on the UK. Many EU nationals are looking at the UK, where they can benefit from the UK tax benefits, i.e. tax-free allowances. They get the same allowances as the UK national does, and they're avoiding the rental caps in their own countries. So France has got a 1.82% rental cap based on the rental index. There's a 4.1% cap in the Netherlands, 4% in Denmark and 2.1% cap in Spain. So if that's what you can do, the only part of the country with rental caps at the moment in the UK is Scotland, which has actually led to a 15% rise in rents. So the UK has got a strong argument for buying into it. And we've seen that with a lot of our French clients, continental people buying into the UK. Even though the UK faces economic challenges, its strong legal network, you know where you stand, stable rental market, the 4.3 missing homes that's occurred since 1947 in the Town and Country Planning Act, and historical capital appreciation make it a great location. As Mark Twain said, they're not making land anymore, and certainly in the UK they're not. It might be in Dubai, Singapore, places like that, where they're extending their borders, but not in the UK. So this recent case of a Singapore investor preferring UK property over a home market highlights how international buyers see the UK as a safe and lucrative haven. So why not invest in Singapore if you're a Singaporean? The government recently introduced higher levels of stamp duty there. And if you're a British buyer, for example, you pay 60% stamp, which is pretty grim. I know the locals don't pay that, but it is a very competitive market and it's still very high net worth to get into, whereas the UK entry level is £150,000 or more. So the UK remains more accessible, it's lower taxes, non-residents do only pay at the moment an extra 2% additional stamp duty surcharge. From April 2025, the nil rate band will be reduced from 250 to 125, meaning that buyers will pay more. But having said that, there are no other changes been announced. Could happen, we don't know. But at the same time, it's the fundamentals. Okay, so the Singaporean investors in question are still viewing UK property as a more profitable and less restrictive long-term wealth building opportunity. And we've seen that ourselves at APW. And we've got a lot more international people looking to buy in the UK. When I first started off doing this 30 years ago, people were buying perhaps one holiday home, perhaps a pied-à-terre, that sort of thing. Now we're looking at people buying 10 properties on an ongoing basis to build their portfolio because they don't have the same pensions they used to. On the FTSE 100, it used to be all of them had final salary schemes. Nowadays, there's just one. So we all need to create our own income for the future. On top of that, property laws protect investors in the UK, and the legal system ensures that there's title security and contract enforcement. Yes, the rental reform bill has led to what they're saying no-fault evictions being barred, but there are many other ways to skin a cat, so to speak. Bearing in mind that London market, Manchester, Birmingham, they're all strongly outstripping supply, the demand, and there's still 13 applicants for every rental property that comes to market. Buy-to-let is still working. It's not for everyone. UK-based landlords have higher taxes and tighter regulations, but international investors, we pay less tax and we can buy through single-purpose vehicles, buy through companies. That's a great opportunity. Many foreign investors are using SPVs, or they're even paying cash outright. Then they don't have to worry about interest rates. I mean, in Germany and France, for example, you buy a property and it's got a fixed term mortgage for the life of the property. So that could be a 30-year fix at 4%. The UK is not like that. It's a lot more variable. So it can lead to people being a little bit concerned about it. So buying for cash for them is a good idea. New build opportunities that are often marketed overseas are seen as a great turnkey investment. You just buy it and forget it. Managing and letting services are included in that, making them more appealing to international buyers. Also, is the growth of many other sectors in the marketplace, such as supported living, where you have no management costs, no maintenance headaches, and a guaranteed rental increase annually. Okay, or things like PBSA, purpose-built student accommodation. That's a good market. Again, with the student population rising, people getting older, so care homes, those sort of things are all positive things to be buying into. And we're seeing a huge investment into that. If you look at any of the big houses like Savills or Knight Frank, they're putting a lot of research out about corporates investing in those sectors. If you're an individual, you can do that, it's well worth doing. So is foreign investment good or bad? It's driving up house prices, making it harder for first-time buyers to enter the market. Donald Trump getting to power in the US has lent to a lot of Americans buying in the UK, and it's driving up central London prices because that's a place they want to live. So it is making it more expensive, but it's a free market economy, and that's the strength of the UK. Others point out that foreign capital supports house building and development projects, so there's been actually more supply and more jobs out there. So that's a positive thing. So should the UK impose strict controls on foreign buyers of property, or should it be laissez-faire, and should the market do what it wishes? The biggest issue we find is getting a good manager and a good tenant. Anyone can buy property, but invest in a good property and you get a good tenant, and invest in a good manager and you get a good management experience. Nothing too bad. So that's it for this week. Well done. Thank you very much for watching. Some questions to answer. James Muck 1272 says, what are you talking about? Nothing new is selling in the north, and all four of my small to medium house builder customers are close to bankruptcy. Well, during COVID, I think there was 30 builders a month going bankrupt. So it was a pretty grim time. We find in the north, because it's a lower cost market, and because people can still afford to live out in the country and then travel into work, they're still doing it, and it's still forcing up house prices. So we are selling a lot in the north. Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham, they're our big markets, so I'm not sure where you get this information from, but thank you for commenting. Did you know, though, there are 30 local authorities in the UK where it's cheaper to buy a 3-bed new build than it is to buy a 3-bed resale property. So buying newer stuff can be a better value. YouTuber Man 5033 says the demand for rental property is going berserk. Now is not the time to sell up, but to hang on. Couldn't agree more. It's not going to get any easier. If you listen to Gary Anderson, he's talked in the past about the UK property market doubling over the next 5 years. Doubling in price, that is. As I said, I find it hard to believe, but it has not been wrong before. Finally, we've got Bondi 346. Properties are looking good in comparison to recent debacle in the share market. And really, the UK government, hopefully get the act together. Personally, I doubt it. And assets will continue to rise and increase drastically, i.e. housing. I think you're right there. Short term, the UK, I think the problem is that perhaps the UK was at the front of the Industrial Revolution, and now it's at the back of the new revolution. So we're trying to modernise when we don't have the money to do it in the UK. So we need to think a bit more shrewdly and a bit more focused on what we're doing and how to do it. Perhaps a lot of the government departments are struggling to come to terms with that because they are so old and set in their ways. So there we go. Thank you very much for listening. And once again, number 250. That's 250 of these I've done. You think I could do them better by now? Me too. Thank you very much. Cheerio.